So welcome everyone to today's training webinar for education service providers for the Choose Act Alabama program. My name is Manuela Peralta. I am a senior implementation specialist here at ClassWallet. And joining us in today's training session is my colleague from the ClassWallet Validation Services team and a representative of the Alabama Department of Revenue. Just some ground rules. To ask any questions, you can use the Q&A feature either at the top or bottom of your screen, depending on your settings. And our team here will either address those questions as we go along via the chat feature, and some of those questions we'll also be able to address at the end, which we'll have a section to go over questions. Okay. This training webinar is also being recorded, as I mentioned, and it will be posted on the Choose Act Alabama program website. So we'll send an email communication once the webinar has been posted on the website. And on the chat here, I am dropping some helpful links for you to follow along or use as I'm going through this presentation. That first one, the ClassWallet user guide, that is actually the guide that I am presenting right now. So feel free to follow along. Okay. So an agenda for today's training, we're going to go over what the invoice guidelines are, the ClassWallet registration process, how you'll be able to link your bank account to your ClassWallet account, how you'll actually receive payments from families, and a couple other pieces of important information. And at the end, we'll have time for that Q&A session. Okay. Starting off with invoice guidelines. So to make a payment, families are required to upload an invoice in their ClassWallet account. So in order to initiate that payment, they first must have that invoice already provided to them by you as a service provider that has provided them services or will provide the student services. That invoice must be uploaded into ClassWallet by the parents in either a PDF, JPEG, or PNG file format. So if you already provide it to the family in one of these three formats, that will make it much easier for the families. It's important to note that no handwritten documentation will be accepted, and the invoice must include these key pieces of information. It must include the service provider's name and address, the name of the student and the parent, the date that the invoice was generated, what service, or I'm sorry, the date of the service, what the service was, so whether that was for tutoring, whether that was for therapy, that's what that type of service would be, and the total amount due. Payments for services can be made either prior to the service actually being rendered or after the service has been rendered. But it is important to note that only invoices for services provided during the 2025-2026 academic year will be approved. And an invoice can include multiple students. So you might be a service provider that provides services to multiple students within the same family. You can list those multiple students within one invoice. However, the charges must be clearly outlined and listed separately for each student. And if you've received a direct invitation to this webinar, it means you have been deemed an approved education service provider for Choose Act Alabama. And if that is the case, then you should have received a ClassWallet registration link to the email you provided within your application. Okay. This application, this registration link will need to be, you'll need to click that link in order to actually create your ClassWallet account. And in ClassWallet, you are known as a direct pay vendor. And that's just the terminology we use here because families are issuing a direct payment to you. Okay. So once you follow that link, you'll see you'll be routed over to a page that looks very similar to this snippet shown on this slide. And you'll select where it says create an account. You'll only select create an account if you are a new direct pay vendor that doesn't have an existing ClassWallet vendor account. Now, if you do fall under this scenario where you are a vendor that maybe you participate in several other programs that partner with ClassWallet, then you can simply just log in to your account and you'll be asked to confirm that you want to participate in Choose Act Alabama. You'll just click accept, and that's all you'll need to do if you already have an existing account. Now, if you are a brand new provider that doesn't have an existing ClassWallet account, that's where you would select create an account. And we'll go over the steps to actually register your account next. So you'll be routed over to a 5-step sign-up wizard. And what this is asking for is basically just information on your business or organization. So you'll be required to provide the company name, a website, and the business address. You'll then be routed over to review ClassWallet's legal terms and conditions. Once you've read that and have selected the little checkbox, you'll be required to enter your login information. And this is basically where you create your password. And it is important to note that the same email address that the link was sent to is the same email address that will be used to create your registration and to do your subsequent logins. Okay. If the person that filled out the application is different than the person that should actually have the ClassWallet account, you can reach out to our customer support team and we can change that information on our end so the right person gets the registration link. And then lastly, you'll be required to just review your information that you just entered. And if everything looks good, you can go ahead and submit that. So that's step one of creating your ClassWallet account. And step two is to actually link your bank account. The reason you are required to link your bank account is because you will receive payments via an ACH transfer from the student's ClassWallet account. Okay. If you do not complete this step, students and families will not be able to initiate a payment to you. So you'll still be visible to them, however, they won't be able to actually initiate a payment to you. Okay. So in order to link your bank account, you'll go into the ClassWallet Direct Pay vendor account that you just created, and you'll click where it says Link Account. And then once you click on that, you'll be asked to enter your bank account information. So you'll be asked for your account number, the routing number, the bank name, the name on the account, and if you want to create a display or nickname for your bank. You'll then be required to complete a W-9 form. This W-9 form, you can just enter your information directly on the form through your ClassWallet account. You don't need to download it and then upload it or anything. You can just submit it directly through your account. And then we do have a dedicated, so once you complete the W-9 form, you have already completed all the steps. And then we do have a dedicated knowledge base article on slide 6 of this presentation that outlines these steps as well. So once you have already done that, so once you've created your direct pay vendor account and linked your bank account, you'll be made visible to families. And this is an example of what families see when they go to initiate a payment to you. Okay. So it's going to ask them, who do you want to pay? And we see now all the results, all the direct pay vendors and service providers that have started their Class Wallet registration. As you can see here, and if you follow along on slide 7, there are some direct pay vendors that are grayed out. If if you have been grayed out, that means that you haven't completed your setup process, which likely means you have not linked your bank account. And you see it's grayed out, so the family won't be able to issue a payment to you. And now for other service providers, you can see that they are not grayed out, and they can issue, families can initiate a payment to them. Okay. Again, step-by-step instructions on how families will initiate a payment to you as a service provider can be found on slide 7. And this is where they'll select you as a service provider, they'll upload that invoice that you have already provided to them, and they'll enter the payment amount, select the category. Once they've already done that, they can submit the payment. In your direct pay account, you'll have access to your settings and a profile. In your profile, you'll be able to see what you entered as your company name, what you entered as your website, and a description. In this description is visible to families. So if you want to add any information as to what type of services your organization provides, or your hours of operation, or just any type of description you want to add there, feel free to use that feature, and families will have access and visibility into it. And then you also have the ability to view your billing address that you entered, and if you want to make that visible to users or not. You also have access to a feature called user management. Mhm. It may be that there was one person within your company or organization that applied, and that's the person that ended up creating the Class Wallet Direct Pay vendor account. However, you might have someone else within your organization that should have access to the reporting, maybe someone in your finance office. And if that is the case, you do have the ability to add additional users and administrators to your direct pay vendor account. That way they have the same visibility as you. Okay. Administrators, so if you add someone as an administrator, they can invite other users, so they can invite other admins and users. They can also update the linked bank account on the account. They have access to reporting, and they can manage vendor profile information. While a user can only see the payment reports and manage their own credentials. If you ever do need to remove an additional user from your account, you can do so as well. You might fall into this scenario in which you are an education service provider for Choose Act Alabama, and you also have a student that is participating in the program and actually receiving the funds. Okay. If you do fall under this scenario, it is important to note that families and students log in via app.classwallet.com, while you, as a service provider and direct pay vendor, you log in through vendor.classwallet.com. Okay. It's likely that not everyone, 99% of service providers may not fall under this scenario, but just in case you do, you have the difference in websites that you need to access. Okay. So whenever a payment is submitted from by a family, that payment then goes to a review queue. They're going to be a team of reviewers that are reviewing all transactions that are submitted by families to make sure that it abides by programmatic guidelines. So basically, they're going to check that the invoice has all the information required. They're going to make sure that the payment that is being made is actually for eligible services, and so on. So when a payment is approved for your organization, you will receive an email confirmation from ClassWallet. This is the only instance that you receive an email confirmation. You will not receive an email confirmation when an order has been submitted or if a transaction is rejected by the team validating the transaction. You only get notified when a transaction has been approved. Okay. You get notified via email, but in addition to that, you will also have access to a payment report within your direct pay vendor account. This payment report, which will go over here, includes a lot of helpful information in order for you to keep track of who has issued a payment to you and who has not. So you'll see a couple different columns within this report. For you'll see the order ID number. So this is a ClassWallet generated number that the family has access to and that you will have access to as well. Again, only when a transaction has been approved. You'll have the name of the student. You'll have when the payment was issued, the payment amount. You will never, you as service providers won't see any fees associated with direct pay transactions, so that should always be zero. And then the total amount, which will likely be the payment amount. Another column you'll see is the status column. This status column is showing you the status of that payment being settled into your linked bank account. Because remember, all the payments are routed over to you as through ACH. So if you see the payment on the queued status, this means that these transactions are being readied for processing. If you see it on the initiated status, that means that the transaction has already been sent to the ClassWallet processor. Once you see it in processing, that means that funds are being moved between the student's account to our processor into your linked bank account. And then once you see it in settled, that means that you should already see the funds deposited into your linked bank account. When a transaction is approved, you'll see that payment reflected on your account within 2 to 10 business days of the approval date. So not of the submission date, but of the approval date of that transaction. You'll also have access to a transaction ID. This transaction ID is what you can use to basically reconcile the amount that you see on your payment report with what you see on your linked bank account. And you'll also be able to match, okay, I see this transaction ID was for John Smith, and I see that this payment has already settled into my bank account through the transaction ID. So I can mark on my end that John Smith's payment has already been paid. And then some general information about security. We here at ClassWallet have a dedicated team whose priority is to take care of customer security. For most users, we only capture a valid email address and shipping address to ship orders to. And then we do rely on our partner banks to capture bank account information securely, and we never store that data in the Class Wallet system. We have the same level of security for the bank accounts that we establish for our users. And again, we do have a dedicated knowledge base article on the security measures that Class Wallet has in place. So if you want to read more on that, you can visit slide 13. And lastly, our customer support team is here to assist you for questions that you may have, whether that's you want to see if your registration, your Class Wallet registration is complete, if you want to see the status of a payment. Those are the types of things our support team can assist with. And you can reach us by calling the phone number listed here. You can send us an email to help@classwallet.com, or you can also start a live chat directly from your Class Wallet direct pay vendor account. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time.